Everyone, my name is Trai, and I just want to talk to you guys about Team Philippines. You guys can be a part of this mission trip that's coming up this summer, and you guys can go down to the mission office and apply. It'll be $5. We need some men, we need some manpower, we need some guys. So please fill out the form, $5 again, and check us out. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow YORU. YORU.
Tonight is your birthday. Let's blow out all the candles. Yeah, we could get
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of YORU. Today, we have with us a new guest, Mr. Trai Elliot. What's going on, Trai?
How you doing? How you doing?
Listen, everybody, last week we had a great friend of Trinity's, but Trai is a great friend of mine. Trai and I had it out last year a couple of times, and it is so amazing to call him a friend, a brother in Christ. And so it's so good to have you on the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Trai, tell the people a little bit about yourself. Start with your name, major, and all of that. Give us a little rundown.
Okay, well, I'm Trai, everyone. My major is theology, so I am focusing on ministry and leadership. I have a concentration in evangelism and outreach, and I'm also minoring in worship arts.
Good.
Yeah, so Trai, you know why you're here. We have one reason, and we want to know why you chose ORU.
Why I chose ORU? Well, to be honest, ORU chose me because
Okay.
I didn't know anything about Oklahoma, Tulsa, or, to be honest, Oral Roberts. I was literally just working all the time, full time. I was in the process of being a travel home health aide, and I was back and forth from Jersey and to Florida. And in that time, I met God in that transition of working, and God was just really wrecking my life. And I got to a place where I was just really low, and God used a church to be a pedestal for me to learn who he is, and learn how much he loves me and how much he's a God of second chances. Fun fact, this is my third college. So I didn't know, I gave up on school, to be honest. And as I continued to seek God, God began to open my heart and show me what my true purpose was. I say this all the time to my friends, that I was going to school for my passion and not my purpose. So once I gave my life over to God, I really, he showed me what my purpose was. And in that time, he stirred in my heart to start looking up Christian schools.
Okay.
And I started looking up schools in New York, because I'm like, Lord, I'm living in New York. Obviously, I'm meant to be here. So I'm going to look up schools in New York. And Lord beholds, Oral Roberts University pops up. And at the time that I applied for Oral Roberts, I did not know that it was in Oklahoma. I just felt this
You
pull.
probably didn't know that it was $44,000.
I didn't know at all. I didn't know at all. I didn't know it was 44,000. I didn't know that it was way in Oklahoma, and I didn't know anything about the state. And I just, honestly, I applied nonchalantly. Like, I just was like, okay, Lord, I'm just going to apply. Let's see what happens. Not thinking I was going to get in. And then I would say about 2 weeks, they reached out to me and told me they was going to accept me. And I was very confused because I knew that my transcripts were horrible. And I was like going back and forth with the lady. I was like, I just want to start completely over. I don't want to send my transcripts over. She's like, well, you have to. So that was a big tug of war between me and the school, of showing them what grades I used to get and feeling like I was going to be rejected because of the grades I used to get. But you know, I learned that if you come to ORU, that means you're called. If you attend ORU, that means you're called here. And they literally accepted me with the bad GPA that I had prior, and it was history from that. I mean, I can tell you a quick little story of how I knew I was supposed to be at ORU. I had a lot of double mindedness, actually. I was going back and forth, and I didn't have no support. I had no support of choosing ORU, of coming to ORU. I had people tell me that I was making the biggest mistake, but I had two people that were really close to me that kept encouraging me, kept telling me, hey, like, I feel like you're supposed to be here. God told me for you to come here. So as I got to the airport, that's how real God is. I got to the airport, and my luggage was so, it was too much. It weighed too much, and I was going to have to pay a lot of money. I barely had money to get to ORU. I had to really save and budget everything, every cost. I really had to take it in thought. And as I was in the waiting for them to check my bag, I'm praying. I'm like, Lord, what am I going to do? This girl, I didn't realize at the time, was panicking behind me. She lost her credit card, and she asked me, she says, hey, could you pay for my luggage? And I'm like, Lord, I have no money. What I'm supposed to do? And some just said, you know what, pay for it. And I was like, okay, I'll pay for it. And she's like, no, I don't need you to pay for it. I need you. I'm gonna cash app you later and give you the money for you to get it. And I trusted like she was gonna do that. Kind of find out we was going to the same place. We met in New York. She just came from some type of country, and it's funny how we was both on the same flights from Dallas to Tulsa. And I was like, well, do you have luggage? You have room in your luggage for me to put my stuff in for you? And she was like, yeah. So I ended up taking the stuff that weighed too much into her luggage, so we both was able to bless each other. So God met me right there at the airport. Was like, wow, I'm gonna make a way for you.
Wow.
And from the time I got there, from the time I landed, like God has been blessing me since. So that's how I know ORU chose me, because God just made a way.
So you said you went to 3 schools prior and you searched many other universities, but what actually stood out to you about ORU rather than the other schools?
Well, coming from 3 other schools that were 2 other schools that were secular. This is my 3rd school, but the other schools were secular, where I was around partying, I was around drinking, I was around just every temptation that you could think of, and I almost lost my life to those temptations. And when God came and like shifted my life and molded me, He washed me clean, and I knew that I wanted to be in a foundation, in an environment that reflected who God had turned me around, who God changed me to be. And I chose ORU because it was Christian based. I would watch literally before I came here and found out that God was going to provide for me financially. I would watch the chapels every night, over and over again. I watch every chapel episode and pray like, God, I just got to be here. I just got to be here. And I did not think it was going to happen. It was like wishful thinking at that time. And God just crazy faith, right? Yeah. I just kept saying, Lord, I got to get here. And here we go.
Yeah.
All right. So this being your 3rd university here, 3rd university, how did you feel when you stepped foot on this campus, different from the rest?
It was like I felt God smiling down. Like I felt His presence so strong. Like I was speechless. Like before at the other universities, my first school, I ran away because my dad had just passed away. So I didn't want to be around my family. I didn't want to be around anyone. I just literally ran away to the nearest place that would accept me. Right. And then the other school, like I said again, as we learned today in chapel, I wasn't waiting on God. I was just going out. And when I stepped foot on this campus and saw the healing hands, I was like, God was just like, this is where you're supposed to be at. This is where I'm going to train you. I'm going to groom you. And I literally saw God literally take my hand and guide me step by step. Like I had no questions that it wasn't God that got me here.
Wow, that's good.
Trai, I have to poke at something that you talked about just recently. You said that at the other universities you had a lot of temptation, and a lot of things that you went through and you seen and you got to experience. So what would you say it is like to be a college student, a young adult that's sold out for Christ, but also trying to live a balanced life?
Well, it's not easy. I've entered right now, I'm a year and 6 months and counting of walking in celibacy, and it's not easy, especially being around so many people who may not be on the same lifestyle as you, and not falling into the temptations of the world. Whether it's not only in a sexual mindset, but also in all areas, whether it's lying, whether it's cheating, or whether it's like, it's not easy, and I do make mistakes, but being around a community of people that's always encouraging you, even in spite of that, that's what helps me get through my temptations. And also praying, staying in the Word, praying, worshiping, and having accountability, it helps me with my temptations. But it's not easy because, like I said, coming from a secular school, I wasn't used to being around so many people that I wasn't used to being around a godly community, so I didn't have that healthy outlet. So now that I have that, it helps, and I encourage anyone who's listening or who will hear this to take advantage of the godly community that you have here, because this university is not like no other university. you don't really have, you have accountability, and you may have that. You may have, if it's 5 group of people, you may have those 2 friends that know the Lord. But
Right.
here, it's amazing to have everybody that's in your circle know God.
Yeah.
So I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you
Okay.
did. So you talked about having a godly community and having people around you just build you up instead of tear you down. So you're saying like the student life here is really great, and you can grow from that and help others as well, right?
Yes, I agree to that. Exactly what you're saying. I get frustrated sometimes because I say I can't have a bad day at the school,
Right.
because when I'm having a tough time, people don't leave you alone. People don't let you be depressed or be sad or be
Yeah.
angry. Like, someone's gonna come up to you and say, "Hey, you okay?" or "How you doing today?" or and people can usually see when you're not having a good day.
Yeah.
And sometimes I want to deal with what I'm dealing with by myself, but because we're at such a campus that's full of community, I'm gonna run into someone who's gonna really be in tune. And that's a good thing of being at a Christian spirit, that's spirit led. I mean, Christian school that's spirit led, that people are very good at discerning. And it's rare that I have a day where I can sit in my room all day and someone not check on me. Literally,
Yeah.
someone's gonna knock on my room and say, "Hey, how you doing today?" Even they just want to know, not knowing
Yeah.
that I'm struggling.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's so good.
yeah.
So Trai, when you first got to ORU and even now, was it hard making friends?
No, even though I was in a season of separation, the job that I had was I was a live-in nurse. So I literally saw the guy every single day, all day, every day. I didn't have anybody for like almost 2 years, besides people I'd call on the phone. But actually being around people, I was isolated for a long time. And coming here, and I'm used to eating by myself. I'm used to going out by myself, doing everything by myself. And then coming here was a really shift, because I would literally try to eat lunch by myself, and people would just be like, "Hey, you don't have to eat by yourself." I'm like, "I'm really okay, but sure." And then they like invite me over, and so it was not hard making friends. I am a people person. I love being around people.
Except for the day you mean mugged me when we were lost together. When we had the same class and we both was lost.
I probably was thinking, I probably was in another world. Like,
Yeah, deep
my
dive
my
now.
yeah my mom and my grandma always joke with me and says, like, everything that I'm feeling, they see it on my face. So I probably was just thinking hard that day.
Yeah.
I probably wasn't trying to mean mug you.
To give y'all a little backstory about that, actually, Trai and I had been going to the same class for like 3 or 4 weeks, right? And
3,
we
4
were
weeks.
we were actually going to the wrong class.
Yep, for 3 or 4 weeks.
And then we happened to be lost just walking one day. We was like, okay, we're not on this man's roster. And he just kept like, "Oh, you guys come on. And we was like, nah, I don't think we're supposed to be in here. And so I left the class, and Trai was late. And he was coming up the stairs, and I was like, "Man, this is not our class." And so then we walked around this campus and actually had to go find the other class. But we got there,
I just have a question. Why were y'all in a classroom that y'all knew y'all was not on the roster for 4 to 6 weeks?
Well, see, what had happened was, first of all, the guy so it was people coming into class every week who were new that wasn't on the roster. So he would just write our names down, like, "You'll be added." So for 3 to 4 weeks, we just kind of like, okay, he just go keep writing our names down. But we didn't realize that, and it wasn't only us. It was like a handful of people who was in the wrong class too.
Okay.
But we should have known something was
Right.
up. But it was still a HPE class, but it was the wrong HPE class. So we
Right.
had it almost,
Mhm.
but it was just the wrong class. And
And
thank
then-
God we had a good teacher, because we switched over because our teacher was pretty dope.
Right. And then in our defense, we were freshmen. So
That
and
was my
then-
next question.
And then he's been here over 20 years. So he should have knew
He
something.
should have known something.
You know what I'm saying? But needless to say, we became friends that day when we were lost. He was preaching to somebody. I was like, "You better preach,
I was actually
boy.
preaching to who was my best friend, who now is my girlfriend now. I was preaching
Come
to her.
on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Come on, girlfriend.
Yes, sir.
I'm out here trying to talk to somebody too. But
Okay, next
Okay.
question.
Amen.
Next question. All right, Trai. So, are you in any groups or clubs here?
I am a chaplain.
Mhm.
Second year of being in the chaplain program, which is amazing in itself. I do a prayer set as well every Friday at 7:30 to 9. Come check it out.
Yeah, shout it out.
I believe that's all that I'm in. If I'm
Oh,
and I'm in missions
yeah,
as well.
I was just
Like I'm doing missions. So last year I went to Cambodia. Now this year I have the opportunity to lead a team to Philippines. So I have
Wow.
missions. I have a chaplain program, and I do prayer set, and I'm also one of the worship leaders for the chaplain program as well. So
Wow.
I'm kind of booked and booked.
You're
and
booked
booked.
and
Yeah,
busy.
booked, yes.
So tell us a little bit about the Cambodia trip.
Yeah.
Wow, Cambodia was life changing. So I knew that I was called to missions, but I didn't know I was called to missions, if that makes sense. I had such a burning desire for the homeless, for the people who couldn't fend for themselves, so just people who were lost or who were looked at as dirty. I just always had a heart for them. And I remember watching a Todd White sermon, and he was feeding the homeless pizza and stuff, and something like sparked in me. And God woke me up like 3 o'clock that morning to see that. And it was like he said, this is what you're going to do for the rest of your life. And when I applied to go to missions, I felt the pull, but I said, Lord, my mind is spinning. I don't know if it's really you. But I knew that it was me the moment I met my team and I shared my testimony. And the breakthrough that happened and sharing my testimony with my team was powerful. And as we continue to go to as we continue on our way to Cambodia, when we landed, I knew, like, God, you've made a way. And just to back up a little bit, if some of you guys can witness how the money was just flowing in literally every day. Like every day I would literally post, hey, I need this amount of money, and people would just, my cash app would just be blowing up. And then to fast forward and to get off on that plane and see, like, God, I just kept saying, God, I'm really here. So in that process, I saw a lot of healings. God used me to heal some people. It was amazing to actually lead people to salvation. I led someone to salvation before here in Oklahoma, but to lead someone in salvation who never heard of Jesus in another country was just like really powerful. Wow. So I had a good team, powerful team, and then on top of that, God used me, even in spite of my mistakes, in spite of my past, in spite of things that I've been through. Yeah. God allowed me to go to Cambodia and witness to people and be a light in a dark place. So, yeah.
Well, for the people who don't know about God's and hearing God's voice, and you talked about a lot just from answering these questions, how you heard God's voice, and how can you tell them or explain to them how you hear his voice, if you can? Yeah,
definitely. So for a long time, for those who listening, don't feel bad. For a long time, I thought God never talked to me. I thought that he didn't care about me. I thought that he just was never there. So I'm like, Lord, you're not talking to me. I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. But when you begin to peel back your own flesh and really give your life over to God fully, God begins to speak to you in his word and prayer and in worship. And what I learned, so many different techniques in hearing the voice of God. And one thing that I've learned this year, shout out to my friend Micah, what he does is we get like these pieces of paper, and we write, say if there's 10 of us in a room, we write down each person's name on a piece of paper. And we scrabble it up around and we pass it back out. And the person cannot flip the paper over to see the name. We put on some worship music and we pray. We say, Lord, we know that you speak. And we want to show this and exercise that you speak to us in a healthy way and a learning way in a safe environment for people to make mistakes. Mm-hmm. So we put in the worship music and they write how they like what they feel like God is speaking to them. And every single time we do it, the people are so shocked. If they feel like they never heard God's voice, they write it down, and then you find out who you got, you give it to the person, and the person read what you said. And literally, the people are blown away because it's like, wow, God really talked to me, because the person confirms, like, this is what I'm going through, or this is what I've been praying about. So that is a very fun way it's a fun way. It's like a game, but it's also like a hearing the voice of God exercise that helps you confirm that you do hear God, because God talks to us. He created us to commune with us. Mm-hmm. He didn't create us to be silent and to not walk away from us. And even when there's moments there's moments where he will be silent, but he's still speaking, if that makes sense. There's moments that you have to go back to the last thing that he told you and stay in that moment, or be content with what he spoke to you last, and know that he's still speaking to you. He speaks to us when we walk outside, we hear the birds chirping, when we see the sun rising. Like, he speaks to us in so many different levels and so many different ways. So that's my practical step of testing yourself. Like, if you're with your family, you know what, let's do an exercise. Let's practice this, and you'll be amazed at what God does in that environment.
So a year and some change of celibacy.
A year and 6 months to
A
be
year
exact,
and
and
6
counting.
months to be exact.
Yes.
I mean, going through the other schools, all of this, leading people to Christ in Cambodia. You have to tell me, when did you give your life to Christ, and what did that look like for you?
So, a little backdrop. I'll be hot.
Yeah.
So when I was 5 years old, I was molested at a very young age, and that unlocked some addictions at a very young age, to where I was exposed to pornography and just sexual relations at a very young age. And I grew up with just these high sexual urges. I didn't understand them. And I would be so upset with God and be mad at God. Like, why would you make me like this? Like, I didn't ask to be molested. I didn't ask for any of these things. So why am I struggling with this stuff? And throughout my high school and throughout just college, I was just really addicted to sex, to be completely honest. And I got to a place where God asked me to choose life or death. He said, either you choose life or you choose death. And ironically, my church was doing a fast. And shout out to Redeeming Word Christian Center in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. But my church was doing a fast, and it was a 7-day fast. And I tell this story like just with so much humility, because it's crazy how we were on a 7-day fast, but God asked me to fast for 3 months. So a 7-day fast turned to 3 months of fasting, and people don't realize the power of fasting. If you want to break some chains, if you want to break some old habits, fasting, praying, and giving, and also put in parentheses serving. Giving and serving is the last piece of that. But I fasted for 3 months, and I saw God literally took every thing that I struggled with, and also revealed to me the things that I was holding on, the hurt of the past of being molested, and just forgiving that person, and also being able to release that to him. Because I was silent about it. I never talked to anybody about it. When the one time I did talk about it, I was bashed for it and laughed at about it. So I just was quiet. So my whole life I was just quiet and just kept pushing forward. But I wasn't healed. So I was moving forward in a broken place. And I got tired of being there. So in those 3 months, I chose life instead of death. And God literally just began to just say, you know what, Trai, you don't have to struggle with your identity. You don't have to struggle with sexual immorality. You don't have to struggle with pornography or masturbation or lust for desires. You don't need that. And he literally, God's so powerful. Like, to be completely honest, I was not even horny anymore. Like, I will not struggle with those. Like, it was his hand was on my life so evident that, like, literally I will wake up, and usually I'll wake up and have these urges, but I woke up and the urges were gone. And it took, I tell people, like, I was 5 years old. So it took literally 19 to 20 years to get free. And it doesn't have to take that long for you. You can give your life over to God. You don't have to carry all that so long, but it took me that long. And that's why when he said choose life or death, I ran to life, because I had nothing else to give. And in those 3 months from January to March, God literally stripped me naked and turned my life around. And that's the reason why I'm sitting here today, even talking to you guys about my testimony, because had I chose not to go on that fast, I don't believe I'd be alive or would be sitting here with you guys today.
All right, Trai. One thing that stood out to me, the whole thing, was your forgiveness, and you had to forgive that person. So what were some of the steps, or what was the steps that you took to forgive that person?
Wow. So God is really good, because I was molested by more than one person in different times in my life. And each time God allowed me to see them the way he sees them. So what helped me forgive, it was that I didn't look at them as the molester or what they did wrong. I looked at them as something that they struggled with as well, that they didn't get healed. And God allowed me to see their heart and to love them even in spite of what they did. And I was really confused I was to say, why am I not angry with these people? Why I'm not mad? Like, it was moments where, I was mad, to be honest. But for the most part, I asked God to help me see them the way, well, I even have to ask, to be honest. He just showed me their heart and showed me how he's seen them. And that's what helped me forgive. Because when I look back at all things that I've done wrong, God still looked at me as this pure, loving, clean man of God. even when I didn't believe that myself. So for anyone who's struggling in that area or who have maybe been molested, or it may not even be that, in that area, but the area of forgiveness, I would challenge you to pray and seek God to help you see them the way He sees them, and your heart will begin to be softened, and it won't be hard, because when your heart is hard, you can't see the truth. You can't see who someone really is. Just real quick, Saul couldn't see who he really was because he had scales over his eyes. His heart was hardened. But when he had that encounter with Jesus, his heart got soft and those scales was removed. So just ask God to remove the scales off your eyes so that you can see people the way that God sees them.
Come on, boy, you better preach. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, last question for you, Trai. What advice would you give that incoming freshman or transfer that may be thinking about coming to ORU?
Progress and not perfection. In the words of Mike Todd, you are a work in progress. You're not going to have it all together in a semester, in a month, or a year. And you may be that person who may have it together, but give yourself grace and know how to receive God's grace. He's proud of you. He got you this far. And if he's placed ORU in your mind, and if you actually make it off that plane or that road trip to ORU, you were called here. So don't give up when times get hard, as I'm telling myself right now, because school right now is crushing. But I have to remind myself that I'm here for a purpose, and that in me being obedient and me living out my purpose, other people will get set free. So as you come here to ORU, have expectations, yes, but have God expectations and let Him guide you, and know that you take advantage of the people that you will meet. Take advantage of the chapels. Take advantage of everything that ORU has to offer, because you will leave here a whole leader. So that's my advice, to definitely not to give up and keep your eyes on Jesus at all times, because there's going to be times where you lose track of that and you will hit dark roads, but there's always a light at the end of the tunnel.
That's so good, man. Thank you. That's really good. Any last thing you got for the audience or
Yes,
Trinity?
one last thing. Thank you guys, Trinity and Joseph, for having me. But also, as you guys know, as I said earlier, I am leading a missions team to Philippines, and I'm really excited. But we need some guys. We need some manpower.
Yeah.
And I know how much of it, how it was when I had a team of other brothers and guys to be there for the girls as well and for myself. So we just asking, if you're interested, if you feel a tug, or even if you ever had a thought about it, come out to the missions office, sign up for Team Philippines. My name is Trai. Just write that down, and it's $5. But yes, we need some manpower. So please, 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 if you feel led, do not let the enemy psych you out and try to make you think that you're not called. We're all called to evangelize, whether it's in our neighbor's home or whether it's across the country. We're called to go out, therefore.
All right.
Thank you, Trai.
Thank you, Trai.
Yeah.
One thing,
Go ahead.
quick
Go ahead.
thing. You said on your little
I
you already know off of that, yeah.
I think I know what you about to say.
You said that you were a gospel gangster.
To
What
its
does
fullest.
that mean?
To its fullest, I am a gospel gangster. So a gospel gangster is a warrior for Jesus who don't mind getting gangster in the prayer closet and also with spiritual warfare. I resonate with Peter so much because Peter was what you call a gospel gangster. He cut off an ear for Jesus, and I'm about that life when it comes to people I care about.
Right.
When it comes to people I care about, and the people that I know God's gonna send me to in the future, I want to prepare now. So I don't play with the enemy. Like, there may be days where he may like have me down a little bit, but then that the Spirit of the Lord just rises up in me, and I give him a 2-piece. Like, I tell people, if you in a place where you about to give up, give the enemy, give the devil, Satan, a 2-piece and get out of the way and let God finish him off. And so yeah, we all call to be prayer warriors, and I just resonate with Peter so much. So I'm like, I'm a gospel gangster. I say that all day, every day. You probably hear that a lot if you ever meet me. But yes, that's what a gospel gangster is: a prayer warrior who does not mind getting down and dirty in a prayer closet.
I like that.
Thank you.
Well, yes, thank you so much, Trai, for just coming out and telling us your story.
Thank you for having me, and Love you guys.
Love you too, man. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have for you today. Thank you for tuning in again for another episode. I promise you we're going to have more fire content coming to you. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's your boy, Joseph Thomas.
And it's your girl, Trinity Caesar.
Peace.